Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user PrestigiousIce7293. Am I the a-hole for grabbing my newborn baby from my sister-in-law? I, 28 female, had my son Kaisen 4 months ago. At 22 weeks, I was diagnosed with partial placenta previa, and we were hoping and praying it would resolve, but at 28 weeks, I was told I have complete placenta previa. This news hurt because I had a birth plan, but my doctor still closely monitored it even though he made it clear that there might be less chance of resolving it and might have a C-section. At 35 weeks, I had heavy bleeding, so I delivered my beautiful baby boy through an emergency C-section. My son was in the ICU for 2 weeks before we got to go home. Now, 2 weeks ago, there was a family party at my mother-in-law's house. I was sitting with the ladies when Kai started crying, so I breastfed him while chatting. Nobody had a problem with that. Then after that, I handed him to my sister-in-law since she wanted to play with him. While she was holding him, she said something. So they started talking about my sister-in-law's labor and she said it was a breeze. Then I said, "Aw, that's nice. I hope to have a natural birth with my second someday." Then she said, "A natural birth needs preparation during the whole pregnancy." Then she went on to say, "You never worked out or got active much." So I told her it was because of the placenta previa situation. This woman literally said, "That's not an excuse though. I had ROD ligament pain and I still managed to keep active." I told her I was kept on bed rest half my pregnancy and had too many hospital visits, so I didn't want to do anything to risk putting myself in danger. Then she said, "Your body can feel the nerves and it reads accordingly. You should have relaxed and let nature take its course. That's how natural births work. The C-section was avoidable." I told her to go F herself and took my baby out of her arms and went to my hubby. We left after. Apparently, she told anyone who asked where I am that I got sensitive and left the party. After a few days, she asked to see Kaisen, and I said I'm not comfortable being around her at the moment. She accused me of weaponizing my son and using him to hurt her. Note, the whole pregnancy she kept on giving unsolicited advice on how to fix the placenta previa, and I feel like she thinks if I had listened to her, I would have had Kaisen naturally. I felt sad for a few weeks after birth cause my birth plan didn't go how I wanted it to. These feelings just feel like they resurfaced, to be honest. I thought I was okay. Am I the a-hole for grabbing him and not agreeing to visit her? OP, you're absolutely not the a-hole. You were medically vulnerable, emotionally raw, and recovering from a high-risk pregnancy. Your sister-in-law dismissed your trauma, undermined your medical reality, and insulted your choices, all while holding your child. That's not sharing opinions, that's emotional sabotage disguised as advice. You didn't weaponize your son, and here I'd like to say that I think the word weaponize has been used too much. That's just my opinion. Anyways, OP, you protected your peace and your healing, and that's what a good mother does. Boundaries aren't punishment, they're protection. She wasn't owed time with your baby after disrespecting you, so stay firm, OP. Let her sit with the consequences of her words. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. The World is on Fire 8377 says, "Not the a-hole. She sounds like an idiot. What part of bed rest did she not understand? I went through a placenta abruption, almost died and almost lost my baby. The first thing my doctor said to me once I was coherent enough to hear it was, 'You did nothing wrong.' If someone said to me what she said to you after what I went through, and in the same token what you went through, I don't know if I could ever speak to them again. What she said was cruel, vile, and more importantly, completely false." And OP responds, "So sorry about the placenta abruption. So glad you and baby are okay. It was so hurtful, especially since she knows how I wanted to have a natural delivery." Personality Winter 442 says, "Not the a-hole. Sister-in-law can stay in her judgmental bubble by herself. I would have humiliated her at the party by asking why she thought she knew more than the doctors who gave you the advice." And ask her where she got her medical degree from, because you'd like to tell people to not attend that university since clearly their candidates are both ignorant and downright stupid with a capital S. Sancti mommies are the worst. And Opie responds, she hates C-section births, formula, the likes, she's that type. And Chipmunk Wonderful 642 says, not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law is an absolute effing melon with the intelligence of a fruit fly. Ask her where her medical degree is that proves she knows more than your doctors and midwives did. And tell her she can take her pretentious, vile, and ill-informed opinion and shove it very firmly up her probably bleached ass. Cesareans are not the easy way out. They have to cut through and stitch back so many layers. Move your literal organs out of the way and grab a slimy little baby out of your guts. The recovery is brutal and hard, and for most women a natural recovery is a million times easier. I'm not included in those women, but the cesarean was still very far from a breeze. OP's short-term update. I made my post hours ago and I am so overwhelmed at the amount of support and kindness I have gotten from everyone in the comments. So when I told my husband about what she did, I didn't like his reaction. I told him exactly what happened and he said, I don't want to interfere in women arguments, babe. I then told him that he can at least ask his sister to be sensitive about my experience and he said, why don't you talk to my mom about it so she sits you two down and have a mature discussion? My husband knows sister-in-law is the apple of my mother-in-law's eye, so she would side with her. There has never been a need for my mother-in-law to pick sides, but if there ever was, we all know who she would. I told him that I would feel more comfortable if he is there, but he said it's a birth thing, so women should discuss it. My husband also suggested therapy for me. Hopefully when we have someone to watch Kaisen, I will see one. He feels like the only reason I was offended by sister-in-law is because I have not gotten over the fact that I had an emergency C-section. I mean, he is right, but I just really want him to talk to his sister. Is that so wrong? I want his support and for him to make things clear to her. If you are wondering whether I have a support system like family, then no, I don't. My parents are in a different country and I live in my husband's home country. I do have friends, that's why I appreciate all of your kind comments. They mean a lot to me, really. Well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole and that the sister-in-law is an idiot and something called a sancti mommy, which I didn't know existed, but now I do. And also, from that update, I'm getting the impression that OP's husband is really not wanting to engage in any of this, but he should stand up for OP. Or at least say something to his sister to keep her in check. So now let's move on to the next update to see how this story continues. Hi everyone, first off, I would like to thank you all for the support I got on my post. The love and support you gave me was more than appreciated and it gave me the courage to do what I did today. I saw some comments saying I named my son a tragedy. My husband and I agreed that I would pick the first name and he would pick the middle name, so we both get to name him. If you don't like the name, then I don't know how to help you with that. Besides, I did not want his first name on the post, so I used his other name, Kaisen. I now realized that I could have just used a fake name. Anyway, today a lot happened. I talked to my sister-in-law and mother-in-law, and I also talked to my husband. It went terrible. Actually, that is an understatement to what happened today. My talk with sister-in-law and mother-in-law took place at my mother-in-law's house at around 10 a.m. I got there and they were already there. I expected my husband to have gone with me, but he didn't. My sister-in-law got to the point and asked me why I was so upset at her. I reminded her all that she said to me and she said, "Was I wrong though? You were just offended that I spoke the truth." I remembered all the advice I got from your comments and I told her what I had learned about placenta previa and her misinformation. I also told her about the difference between round ligament pain and placenta previa and what I went through. She rolled her eyes and said, "That's what doctors want to do so they make money off of C-sections." My mother-in-law the whole time sat there defending her and saying I shouldn't take it to heart while sister-in-law still stood on all she said. Sister-in-law called me incompetent and sensitive, so I said some colorful words and was walking out. By the way, I was baby wearing. She grabbed my arm and pulled me, telling me she isn't done talking and that I'm walking away with her nephew. I told her to let me go or I'll get her arrested for handling me in that manner, so she let go. I told them when they are ready to behave like adults, then they will see Kaisen. I was so scared of standing up for myself, but I did it. My hands were shaking. Lol. I got home and hubby wasn't there, so I got Kai to take a nap and called my dad. I spilled everything to him and he was furious. He told me to either move out or fly back home. I told him I have to talk to my husband first and I will tell him how things go. When hubby got home later in the afternoon, I was breastfeeding. He came into the living room and asked me how the meeting went. I could tell he had a sour mood. I told him it went bad and he told me, "Oh, I know." He told me that his mother is so hurt by my disrespect. I told him how they behaved and he told him that I'm trying to say his mother is a liar. So basically, his mom called and told him I was screaming and shouting at them. She told him I was hysterical and even rattled Kai up. Sister-in-law backed mother-in-law up, so it was like a tag team. I explained what actually happened and he said all this drama wouldn't be happening if I didn't overreact to a few comments made at the party. I was shocked. I told him I thought he was supposed to defend me and he said he can't ruin the relationship with his family because of my insecurities. I told him that I will leave with my son and go to people who actually care about me and that my dad will book my flight. I walked away with Kaisen and he grabbed my arm and said his son goes nowhere. He told me he was tired of my continuous complaints about his family. He said if I was still hurt by those comments, then maybe I'm the problem and need to look into fixing it. He brought up a few memories I don't want to mention, but just past experiences with his family. At this point, it was getting loud and Kai was crying, so I told hubby to relax. He didn't. Let's just say the living room wall understood that he was angry. So I told him I want to go somewhere I feel safe. I left with Kai and we are currently in a hotel. I want to move to another city and start life fresh there. I can request a transfer. My husband expresses himself audibly when angry, so what happened after that was so unusual and a shock. He has called me asking me to come home and that he was just frustrated. He knows this account and he knows about the posts, so he saw the comments that I got. He sent me a message about how I let strangers who love the internet get into my head and convince me against my family. He said he felt torn between supporting his sister and supporting me, and I can't blame him for not knowing which side to take. I told him I don't want Kai to grow up in such an environment and stopped replying. I don't know if I was dramatic or I did too much. I still don't understand why he got so angry and why he reacted that way. I also want to know why his mom and sister lied to him. I don't know, there's a lot of uncertainty right now, but Kai and I are safe. I will talk to a lawyer about the next steps to take. I feel at peace. I have gone through so much in my 5 years of marriage. I now want to raise my son in a healthy environment. Thank you for all the support, really. OP, your husband really effed up, grabbing your arm, punching the wall and all of that crap. And I mean, that's on top of him not being able to decide who to back, you or his sister. Now, unless you would have done something illegal or morally reprehensible, then yeah, it should definitely just be you. Anyway, it sounds like OP is taking matters into her hands, so let's move on to the final update to see how this story ends. Hi everyone, I want to thank you for the support I received on my last post. It really meant a lot to me. I did not reply to all your comments, but I saw most of them and I appreciate all the advice I got. This is my last update for now. Happy belated Father's Day to all the wonderful dads out there. Biological or not, kids or not, you are all amazing. Now, here's the update. So, the police took my statement and I showed them the bruising. They opened a file for my case. They talked to my husband and sister-in-law, advising them to keep their distance. I want to apply for a protection order so they don't come near Kaisen and I. My sister-in-law, hubby, and mother-in-law have not contacted me since their talk with the cops. As for our marriage, it's definitely over. But since I'm a foreigner, I can't just pack up and leave, especially since we have a child together. I would need his father's consent to leave the country, and we all know he will not give permission for that. Still, I talked to a lawyer about my options and the laws around domestic violence, travel, and custody. Legal action is going to take time. The protection order could take a few weeks. Since I want to leave and take away his parental rights, I have to prove domestic violence and that he is unfit and can potentially hurt Kaisen. Kaisen also needs a passport. The whole legal process will take time, months if we are talking about it. If my husband does contest anything, then it will take even longer. I was told it could take 6 months or more to fully sort out the custody and permission to leave the country with baby Kai. It's not gonna be fast, but I'm willing to have the patience for this if it means safety for my son and I. Good news is my parents and brothers are flying over. They will arrive end of this week. So yeah, yesterday that was all I did. Met the police and the lawyer. Also moved to live with a friend of mine and her husband. My dad and brothers said they want to talk to my husband, soon to be ex, about men's stuff. I don't think that's a good idea, lol. Now, the stress and everything of this has made my milk supply drop significantly. In my first post, I mentioned in the comments that it was low, but it has gotten worse. I really want to be able to fully feed my baby, and it's so hard to be hydrated and eat well. This update might be all over the place, but I made progress. Hopefully in a few months' time, I will be giving a great update from my parents' house. I didn't do a lot, but there's so much to do, but it's one step at a time. I might not respond to all your comments, but I promise I see your advice and appreciate it heavily. Thank you for all the support. Heart. Willoughby, as you said, one step at a time. You spoke to police and you're in a safe place with your son right now. And regarding your divorce process, I truly hope for your sake and Kai's sake that it goes smooth and without any bumps from your future ex-husband. I wouldn't hold my breath, but I will be looking out for that final update. So in the meantime, here's wishing you the best. Thanks for sharing and take care. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliant, and it's by user Jessica Sergey. Use all your paid time off before December 31st or lose it? Alright. Don't mind if I do, even if the project burns. This happened a couple of years ago at my old job, a pretty demanding corporate gig where we were always juggling tight deadlines, constant emails, and way too many meetings that could have been Slack messages. Around early November, HR sent out one of those staff emails with a bright red banner and urgent tone. It read something like, "Reminder, all unused paid time off must be taken before December 31st. We will not be allowing rollovers this year. Please schedule your remaining days immediately or risk losing them." No exceptions, no flexibility, no consideration for project timelines. Now, I wasn't one to take a ton of time off during the year, mostly because every time I tried, something urgent would come up and I'd get guilted into postponing. So by November, I had 10 full days of paid time off just sitting there, and according to HR's big red warning, I had about 6 weeks to use them. Naturally, I did what any burnt-out, underappreciated employee would do. I opened the calendar and booked myself off from December 18 to December 31st. 2 full weeks, right before the new year, smack in the middle of the most chaotic time in our project cycle. A week later, my manager, let's call him Rob, came to me in a mild panic. He said, "Hey, I saw your PTO request. I was hoping we could shift that a little. December's going to be a critical time for a project and we really need all hands on deck." I replied, "Yeah, I get that, but HR sent that PTO deadline. If I don't use those days, I lose them. And I've already worked through enough vacations this year." He looked uncomfortable but couldn't argue with the logic. I even forwarded him the HR email with the subject line, "Using my days as required," smiley face. He escalated it to HR, of course. And HR's reply? Quote, "We understand it may be inconvenient, but our PTO policy is final. Managers are responsible for planning around employee availability." End quote. That reply felt like Christmas came early. So I prepared my team as best I could, left detailed notes, and on December 18, I logged out, stress-free. While they were scrambling to hit deadlines, dealing with last-minute client requests, and working late, I was sipping hot chocolate, watching Netflix, and actually enjoying my holiday season for once. When I came back in January, the project had barely been delivered. The team was exhausted, mistakes had been made, and the post-mortem meeting was basically 45 minutes of finger-pointing, but no one dared say a word to me. After all, I was just following HR's rules. Moral of the story? If a company insists you follow policy to the letter, don't feel bad when you do, even if it means watching the ship catch fire from your cozy vacation cabin. Well, OP, as you said, you were just following HR's order, and it seems that you really enjoyed that holiday that was needed. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.